Let's go. Mr. Blake Ruffino joins us on Sundays. Garrett Nussmeier, should he be benched?
Boy, you open a show. We're not 8 seconds into the thing, and you rip the Band-Aid off of it, don't you? You don't even walk into it. Like say,
No,
hey,
dude, you go straight to it.
Hit the like and share to all those groups. Subscribe to Power Hour LSU. Like you just rip the Band-Aid right off, don't you?
It's a TikTok generation of attention spans. So why not just go right into it?
All right, let's get into it then. If that is the level of performance that you are going to get, then you need to have the discussion. Because, Carter, I don't know how you see the game, and sometimes we view the game in a different way, and that's okay. There's way too many things being missed. We can talk about play calling, and I don't think Sloan has done a great job at all either. I think he's done a horrible job, just being blunt. But there also just comes a point in time, Carter, when I look at this and say to myself, like the interception, what are we doing? I'm being told that he's making checks at the line and getting out of run plays and getting into passing stuff after the 15 seconds goes by. So what is it? Right? Like you got a hard decision you got to make, but I don't think it's fair to this defense or this entire team to not give Van Buren a chance. And I think over the next 2 weeks, they're going to give him a chance because I think they're going to rest Garrett. And has Van Buren been that bad in practice to where you don't have enough confidence in a unhealthy Garrett Nussmeier? You still feel like it's your best chance?
Yeah, it's strange because I do think the red zone interception was very irresponsible.
Which one? The one against Florida or the one this week?
Well, the one this week, the one that happened in the last 48. The Florida one was definitely
worse. It was worse.
Oh, you think that one was worse? Either way, they were both. It
was worse because you could have. I mean, there's a flag thrown on the play, and you just. What was he doing? At least he was trying to make a play on this one.
Here's the thing that bothered me about the red zone INT, and this has always been a thing with Garrett, is there are times when he's back there where it's impossible for you to read a coverage that fast. You're just guessing. You're just guessing where guys are going to be. And look, we can get into the route spacing idea of the routes that were run there. It was a weird route concept, but you just can't throw that, especially when you have an elite defense. I can understand if your defense was Arkansas's, where you really have to push the envelope. But Blake, I've been one of the biggest Nuss defenders on the internet. It's starting to really bother me because it gets into, are you just being selfish? Are you really just trying to get your own stats up and make things happen that aren't there? So, there's a lot of different things at play here, and you got better right tackle play in this game. It wasn't perfect.
You can't talk about injuries, really. Like, you can't talk about Weston Davis being out because Kern was better than him.
Yeah. He was, and on that play in particular, there was a little pressure off the right side, but not enough to make.
I'm so tired of hearing about the pressure part because you're 17 games into this, Garrett. You got to know, bud. I'm sorry. You see, here's the thing that I start sitting here, and I'm not saying you did this. I'm not trying to take a shot at you. I'm just saying in general.
No. I want you to. That's why you're here.
I'm not trying. I'm really not trying to say this and take a shot at you. DJ Chester was blamed for a lot of the bad decisions, meaning, oh, there's so much interior pressure and Garrett's under you, buddy, you're 17 fucking games into this. You know what you got to know what your offensive line is and isn't. When you have Bauer Sharp less than 7 yards in front of you with nobody generally in football terms around you to make the throw, you got to make it.
Yeah, you're talking about this INT.
The
You just gotta
INT,
hit.
since we were kind
Yeah,
of talking about it.
yeah,
He's wide open. So I took a lot of criticism last year by saying the turnovers are bad. The turnovers are bad. You can't always blame the offensive line because, guys, at some point, and Carter, at some point, you can only beat that dead horse for so long. They're gonna be bad. They're gonna be bad. And when you're throwing hospital balls to Aaron Anderson, I mean, Carter, that he's not good right now. He hasn't been good. You look at the Clemson game because you manage it in a great way, but Clemson's not good. So I don't know, Carter.
yeah.
Like
And
DJ Chester's not on the field.
the
He's
big
not on the field.
no. Trust me, and there's a good reason. Thankfully, he's not
Well,
out
yeah,
there.
but at the same time, none of that changed any of the bad decisions that he's always made.
And
I saw a quarterback make the same level of decisions versus Southern than what he made last night or yesterday.
I think the biggest concern for me with Garrett is, yeah, the turnovers are there, but we get into the injuries. So what do you say to those that say, hey, it could just be that he's hurt?
Then why is he playing?
Exactly.
And I got to be real with you. I got to be real with you. Then you can't use that argument anymore because you said he was coming out of it. And he's somewhat denying it, meaning Garrett, he's trying to make it seem like he is hurt and he's playing through it. Okay, well then that's fine. Are you playing, Carter? How does the torso injury affect some of the things and bad decisions he was making? If you're going to use that, you would say, okay, fine, he can't throw the ball 40 yards downfield. Carter, he can't throw the ball 40 yards downfield.
I will say, if LSU needed to start a game tomorrow, they would need to start a different quarterback. I am to that point because the injury plays a role into this. And the problem I have, Blake, is you were very vocal in your concerns about Garrett Nussmeier. My biggest concern wasn't necessarily the running thing. Last year, he was not a good deep ball thrower. It was a very erratic thing. So, yes, it does look like some of these deep balls are with very labored releases. The Chris Hilton one that drew the pass interference was
Which one? He's got two.
Yeah, well, the one in the red zone.
The one that should have been the touchdown?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So that was a very labored release, but it was one of those things where it was a problem last year. Okay, so yes, there are some injury concerns involving how much torque and how much distance he can create on a throw, but at the same time, the deep ball accuracy was a massive problem,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw it here. I think one of the more underrated throws that should have just sounded 1,000 alarms was a ball in the first half thrown down the left sideline to Barryon, and it wasn't even close. It was skidded on the ground. So you have a quarterback who's struggling, while at the same time who's not healthy. So yeah, if LSU started a game tomorrow, I would start number 11.
How does the injury affect his footwork?
Because you're
Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
No. You keep going. You're on it.
No, I want you to answer it. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
because if it definitely affects it if you are trying to generate more torque on the football. Obviously, it depends on your throwing style as well. I'm not a QB mechanic expert at all, but if you're trying to rotate, and for me, just watching Garrett a gazillion times, likes to throw at his hips. Well, if your torso is bothering you, then you're going to overcompensate throwing it in a different way than you normally would. The Chris Hilton pass interference one that we just referenced is a really good example of that. It was the most alarming throwing motion I've ever seen from an LSU starter that's just screaming hey, he's not fully there. So my point is, it's a mixture. It's a mixture of the injury, and it's a mixture of him not being good at this thing that was an issue from the year before. But you think his footwork's off?
It's completely off.
Let's go. Well, let's hear it.
Carter, okay. Then bench him. Something's got to be happening because Brian Kelly used to go through quarterbacks like Skittles and Underoos at Notre Dame. So either you think Van Buren is just not ready and he's not there, and he very well may not be. Carter, he is right now playing like everything everyone thought that Jaden Daniels was in 2022 without the running ability.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. And I do think, to defend Garrett, okay, because if we had to play tomorrow, I would start Michael Van Buren. But you do have the bye week, and you do have time to prepare.
Well, then you got to rest him. And how's timing going to be?
Okay.
If you start him, you better have a short leash.
And you know this, Blake. Garrett was obviously on a pitch count before the season even began. So,
how much of this is conditioning and not taking the offseason seriously? Because you're not you're not getting hit in practice. Last year, every time Garrett got touched, he got hurt. So which one is it?
I will say this. Was the game versus Ole Miss an absolute disaster class when it comes to quarterback? I wouldn't say it was like beyond awful. But
it was awful.
Oh, so you're going there. You're saying
it was beyond awful.
You will go beyond awful.
Yeah, it was awful. Carter, come on.
I don't know if I could go awful. I would say it's bad. Awful.
No, it was awful.
Interesting. All right.
Because I weigh bad decisions bigger than most.
Oh yeah, I know. You're if you throw a pick, it's a problem. It's a big problem.
Is there anything worse that you can do but it's not about throwing a pick. It's about the picks that he throws into triple.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's different kinds of
it's rolling left, spinning left, and throwing a jump ball up to a 5'7" receiver.
Right.
Like we're beyond. Here's what I think. We're beyond the situation of that. Listen, we get it. You're hurt, and they probably should take you out. So it doesn't affect the bad decision making, because if you more than most understand that you're hurt. So if you're making bad physical throws, that, like, for example, all right, he's hurt. The Chris Hilton throw, fine then. It is what it is. And you haven't seen me ding him hard on those because it's a physical thing. But now you're going to have to start talking about the mental stuff. That's where the biggest problem has been.
No, he's guessing. He's
100% guessing,
and he got away with some guesses last year, and it's a problem. Now, I will defend him in a few different ways. I will, because it's a team game.
I wish you defended Garrett or DJ Chester like you do Garrett.
Well, DJ Chester is one of the lowest rated starters in the history.
I wish you would defend Josh Thompson or anybody along the offensive line like you defend Garrett.
Oh, I do. I will. You don't.
I got 10 minutes in. I got 10 minutes into your part one, and you saying this offensive line is trash.
Well, but you as a former offensive lineman are always going to defend it.
All right. I would rather you defend the receivers more than you're defending him or Chris Hilton, because it ain't Chris Hilton's fault that he's got 3 steps on the guy and he can't get hit.
Like I said, that was one of the worst underthrows.
Do you think that the decision making's really bad? Because if you're guessing, you got to be bent. How have you been in college football for 5 years and your dad's a offensive coordinator in the league and you're guessing?
Yeah, I don't know. He did a lot of guessing versus Ole Miss, but at the same time, this was a disaster from a few members of LSU supporting cast. So, first drive of the game, Barrett Sharp
The
drops.
ball's at his knees, though. I mean,
It
you can.
wasn't a great throw. I'll agree with you on that.
Okay,
And
let's go through some more.
Okay. Then on the third down play, rush 3, drop 8, gets absolutely mauled on that play. Took a massive shot because Tyree Adams got beat on the blind side.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the first half alone,
What was the decision?
it was a tough one. They were running a double slants concept into inside leverage. You do just
he threw it into triple coverage. Hold on. He threw it into triple coverage, and the ball got tipped up and almost picked. So
yes,
again, he took a shot.
But in that spot, you're having to make a split-second decision of, do I want my face to get ripped off from the blind side, eating a sack?
What would Burrow do in that situation?
Well, he's 10 times. He actually. Well, it's funny you bring that up. He actually spun out of a sack on the road versus Ole Miss in 2019 and threw a bomb.
Exactly.
But Garrett is not that level of a quarterback.
I get it, but at the same time, there's never going to be an excuse. He's got a split-second decision. There's never an excuse to throw it into triple coverage.
Yeah,
regardless,
he should just eat the sack. I am with you.
Sack. That is.
I am with you, but what I would say to defend Garrett in this instance, now once again, before the chat comes after me saying, "Hey, you're just a Garrett defender and all that," it is hard to play the quarterback position when they are rushing 3 and dropping 8 and getting home quite a bit at the time.
Hold on. We got to stop with the offensive line, Carter. You got to know they're bad.
Yes, but Blake, it's a rush 3, drop 8.
Carter, I am sorry. You didn't eat the sack. You almost got. No,
I am partially with you.
Protecting him in reference to, Tyree Adams got beat. That is going to, it's going to happen.
So I will give him credit in this, and that later in the second half he did eat the sack from his blind side. So he that was a step in the right direction. But I would also say
we shouldn't be steps in the right direction on a fifth-year senior.
No, Blake, I'm with you. He is not playing bad at all. I'm just telling you.
He's not playing bad at all?
No. He is playing really bad. I misspoke. I will tell you, though, a lot of quarterbacks would say if they ran rush 3, drop 8 as much as they did and generated as much pressure as they did on rush 3, drop 8 principles, you're going to have a rough game. And they did have some instances of that. Then, on the final 2 drives of the first half, you start off with a really nice quick pass to Xavier Thomas in the flats, and Trades Green commits one of the worst holding calls, or one of the worst holding penalties on Sage Ryan that ends that drive. Then on the next drive, it was a 3rd and medium. I felt Trades Green's positioning on one of those plays resulted in Garrett Nussmeier taking the check down to Caleb Jackson, and that was the end of the half. So I do think Garrett deserves some defense in how the supporting cast for LSU played yesterday. I'd put a good 65 to 70% on him, but this is a very hostile environment with no run game and no RB1 to speak of. Now, I will also tell you that based on how I rewatched this game, it does seem like LSU should have ran the ball more, or Garrett checked out of a few runs that he probably shouldn't have.
Oh, I know for a fact he did.
Yes.
They rest 3, and he kept calling throws because they were coming to the line of scrimmage, then backing out. And to be honest with you, did you see Deshaun Womack, by the way?
What? What'd he say?
He's screaming, pass, 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 pass. He's hitting the top of his helmet trying to get everybody's attention because they didn't change a call along the offensive line, and he didn't. And they backed out.
It's a problem, though. I'm with you on that. And like I said, if they needed a game to be started now, I do think it would be not only unfair to LSU, I think it would be unfair to a quarterback who's really struggling right now to not start somebody else.
It's always, and I get it. I'm with you. I agree with you on it's not all on him. Play calling's not on him. What in the hell was that 2-point conversion? The run game. But then again, you know that your run game's going to suck. You know it. I mean, we're going into situations where it's rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. I mean, we got more rinse and repeats on these situations than Tresemme shampoo bottles.
And look at that. I was waiting for the simile. I was trying to guess the simile that you're gonna.
Tresemme ooh la la is not what our offense is looking like right now.
Do you see a path forward?
Yeah. You ain't gonna like it.
Now go on ahead, bring it.
You gotta shake things up offensively. Everything.
Okay. So I do want to bring up a comment, and I'll address this. I have in the past before how the Mike Dimbrock situation unfolded. So this really got back into this really got back into the news when T-Bob yesterday, T-Bob Abear,
unhinged.
If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it.
No, I've already talked about it. I'm not going to say anything. Go ahead.
So T-Bob brings up that the Mike Dimbrock divorce was in large part a Brian Kelly decision to go with Joe Sloan as the offensive coordinator.
That's not all completely true. It's got a lot of truth to it, but it's not all completely true.
Okay. I will share what I know, and you don't have to say whatever. But it goes back to the Notre Dame time when there already was a split. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when this marriage happened, there was someone that I trust at Notre Dame who said, Carter, it might go well, but there's going to be a divorce at some point. And that's why when it happened, I wasn't totally shocked. Now, I will say there's a lot of truth to Mike Dimbrock going back to the Midwest, going back to be with the Golden Domers, and
going back closer to family,
and being with the defensive head coach and having total autonomy of that situation. And of course, you lose Jaden, you got to rebuild the offense differently, and he decided to leave. But there was some truth to T-Bob saying that they're ready to roll with the young hotshot in Joe Sloan. And if that were more of the case, I can't say a gazillion % what the final straw was in that situation. It's been a disaster. It's been a disaster. And one of my biggest criticisms of Brian Kelly is that not only has Joe Sloan not been what is needed to be as an SEC Power 4 offensive coordinator, we also could have done a better job giving him a better coaching staff that had more experience as well. We're just a very young staff, and you see a bunch of
Where's the young coach?
Well, there's not anybody in there.
Brad Davis ain't young.
I mean, he's in his
Alex Atkins ain't young. He's been coaching since the
right.
late early 2000s. That's 20 years.
So just to add some more specificity.
Frank's in his 60s.
Yes, just to add more specificity though, play calling experience. And there's not a whole lot of it on the staff on the offensive side of the football. And I don't know, Blake. I would say even outside of Sloan's play calling, I don't know if any of these position groups offensively are being brought up to the potential where they need to be.
I would have a personnel problem too.
Okay, go on. Well, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I just don't think you have the personnel. I think you got some good players. I don't think you got great players. It's like last year defensively. I mean, it's not necessarily all scheme. A lot of it's got to do with personnel. I mean, you can't say Garrett's been bad and then you can't say Garrett's making bad decisions and blame it all on Sloan. I do wonder. Here's my wonder. My wonder is, what does he look like without Garrett Nussmeier? That is a wonder I have, because I do not believe fully, like, Carter, how many times are you sitting there during a breakdown of a game and saying we completely missed this?
Oh,
Like,
with Garrett,
yeah, with Garrett, just
I would,
humor me here.
I would say on average there's. Nah, it's tough on the top of my head. I would say probably 2 to 3 egregious misses. But
Okay,
like you
so
said,
what if those egregious misses don't happen anymore?
well, the one thing I like about Michael Van Buren compared to
He
Garrett,
don't care. He don't care. He gonna rifle that hoe,
yeah,
and he will push it downfield, brother.
the thing that's working in favor of Van Buren is the two things that he would bring your offense are Garrett's two biggest weaknesses, right? Which is some mobility, and Michael Van Buren's best attribute last year for Mississippi State was throwing deep balls. It just was what he was as a quarterback. He has a very
As a true
beautiful
freshman, by the way.
right. So it's interesting. Now, I will also say, as you that actually attended practice, did Van Buren have tough practices? Yeah, but
It's
at
against
Mississippi
bad
State, he
teams.
had tough. At Mississippi State, he had tough practices, and he turned it on in games. I mean,
Well, and two, it's a second team offense versus this first team defense. So it's not like he's got a lot of weapons around him either.
I do want to bring up, to me, my lowest graded player on the offensive side of the football was Trey Green, and PFF agreed. Um, it's a tough spot for him to be in coming off an injury, but I would 2 catches for 17 yards up to this point in the season. And then Barry Sharp has had his fair share of issues as well. A good bit of this is that we don't have Mason Taylor anymore. The tight end room has not really been that great for LSU, and it's a problem. It's a big problem. It's one thing if you can't block. It's another thing if they're not really giving you a whole lot as a receiver. And Sharp did in the prior 2 games of this one, but there was a huge gap in Ole Miss's tight end Harris, who's probably the best tight end in the SEC right now.
Yeah, he's a load.
He absolutely dominated us.
And two, the 2 biggest plays he had were on 4th down.
Right.
And it's the same exact play that they ran on both 4th downs and they converted.
So I do want to bring up the defense before we skedaddle here.
Yep.
Where we differ, you felt Blake Baker was fine yesterday.
I don't think it was great. I think it was okay. I mean, when you're on how many plays total were they on the field for?
Depends on how you want to count it, if you want to include punt return, but it was 85.
Well, but they also had 9 plays got called back.
Right. So
basically over 90 plays, correct?
Yes, it was 90 at the absolute maximum.
Well, not really, because if you had holdings and things like that, I mean, regardless, we're fighting over.
It was a lot.
It was a lot, right? It was a lot, and you gave up 24 points to Lane Kiffin on 90 plays. I mean, Carter, to be honest with you, the thing for me is, do they give up some yards in the second half? Did they? The 3rd and 14 was awful that they converted on. Like, that cannot happen. But at the same time, they only gave up a touchdown in the second half. They gave up 3 points in the first half. I mean, the first quarter. So, I mean, like,
where though I would push back is you make your money as a defensive coordinator on 3rd
getting
down.
off the field, right?
And out of anyone at any level that does the sports media thing, the 2 things you are a stickler about are turnovers and defensive 3rd down percentage.
Yeah, awful. Not putting his spy on Chambliss was god awful.
I would have done a lot differently if I were Blake. And I think Baker did some really good things, obviously, in those first couple of drives. But one decision that was shocking to me is that Harold Perkins played every snap defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the Heat versus an offense like that, I would not have played him every single snap.
Well, hold on. Pause. Their first scoring touchdown drive, let's go back through it. You had 2 PIs. You had a roughing the passer, okay, which got them all the way down the field.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but Perk didn't commit any one of those penalties.
No, I'm not saying it was.
But every time, it's a Garrett Nussmeier effect. Every time that we don't look as crisp or we win, it's either Perk played great or Perk didn't play good at all. I get what you're saying. At the same time, you got beat in a lot of situations that didn't revolve him. I mean,
on the defensive side,
yeah, it's not on him. You should. Carter, there were 4 times that I know for a fact, and I will send the screenshots on, they're putting him on Caden Lee in the slot. That's a mismatch. That's not on him. I don't dictate that on him. He is a backer on a slot guy.
Yes. So why would you not take him out?
How many times was he pointing back at Tamarcus Cooley when they had numbers? The out route to Caden Lee, he's screaming at Tamarcus Cooley to get over there when they had numbers.
Yes. So once again, I'm not saying. No, my point was, if you're playing that many plays, I was critical about this for Tennessee versus Georgia.
Okay.
You've got to give guys a rest.
Well, they can't give him a rest.
Oh yeah, you definitely can. Yeah.
Well, you can, but I mean,
that's asinine to play any defensive player 90 full plays. I can understand.
I don't disagree with that, but here's the thing though. You also are going into a bye week. So if you feel like your best defense is with him out there, then you got to roll it.
Right. I do think at the end of the second quarter, when that is a clear rollout with 1 timeout left, Brian Kelly should have called it. I think you should call that final timeout regardless. I mean, you don't need it offensively because you're not getting the football.
I agree. I agree with you.
And, I don't think this was Blake Baker's best game. I would have switched things up pretty quickly when LSU was dominating the line of scrimmage, and I would have played a different. I would have played more nickel. I would have played Perk and Weeks, and then put an extra DB in there, or take Perk out and put a DB in there, put Spears or someone in there. However you want to play it.
I can't get on the defense. You gave up 24 points to a really good coordinator and coach, and your offense could barely do shit.
No, I mean, it's more on the offense, but after rewatching it, I was a little shocked defensively that you were that bad on third downs, and a lot of those were third and longs.
Yeah, the worst thing he did was shambless, not having a plan for shambless. That was the biggest problem.
Yes, and the reason I bring that up is you're going to play more mobile QBs upcoming. Sellers is starting to get his legs back under him. Reed was concerning this past weekend, but he's still good. And then you have Diego Pavia on the road. So,
and you have John Mateer.
And that's about where I am. Is I am still.
Yeah, you're staring down the barrel of 8-4, brother.
Yes. So some of my skepticism here at this defense is, they were so good versus Clemson in Florida, you could have played with any offense and won that game. So now it's going to get more difficult. And
let me ask you this. Would they have been better defensively if the offense could have scored and sustained drives?
Oh, yeah. And it's a problem that you've seen with other teams right now. Georgia ran into this yesterday. If you can't get off the field on third down and you can't run the football at all, it really increases the amount of defensive plays that you have to play.
Yep.
I don't mind DJ Pickett having a few rough snaps yesterday. I thought PJ Woodland did some really good things. I listened to Lane in the presser. They said we were not throwing a Mansour to Lane under any circumstances. And they came in with it.
Did you see Lane's scream at Chambliss when he threw at him that one time?
Yes.
He screamed at him, "Don't," and it sounded like, "Don't." He can throw it over there.
Let's go to Dane's super chat a few before we battle. I am pissed, and Dane's a member of, I think, your channel and mine. I drove 10 hours back from that abortion yesterday and have a bad
Jeez.
hangover. Goodness gracious, the A word. LSU has not recruited a legit SEC quarterback since Matt Flynn.
Talking about like out of high school, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ryan Perlow was a legit recruit. Just didn't work out. The gunslinger is headed for Boot Hill. Bunch of y'all in the chat told me Caden Durham was bad, wasn't hitting holes. How about Barry? 7 rushes for 22 yards. We need Durham like we need air, says Cajun Curveball. That's tough. I would disagree with this because I don't think Juwan Johnson's better than Caden Durham. You didn't really give him a chance though yesterday to have an impact on that game.
Well, you didn't really give many people a chance, and your best running back plays X.
At half, you had 9 rushes, and 4 of them were to wide receivers. Dane says, I don't want to hear shit from BK about the path. He had LSU on the highway to hell.
Yeah, it's not good, man. At what point he's not going to, but at what point does somebody in the media go to him tomorrow and say, are you about to take over play calling? You got 2 weeks to figure it out.
He would not admit it, but I do think it needs to be asked. It
needs to be asked.
I will also say this. Brian Kelly had another tough game, and there's all these timeouts that get burned for no reason.
Oh, by the way, he was pissed I heard on the Garrett timeout for the sneak. Pissed.
Watching that unfold was, and I was going to save it for the film study tomorrow. So I'll have part 2. I only did the first half. Tomorrow we'll release the second half. I put a lot of that on Garrett. It's
for a fact. Did you see BK walking down the sidelines and have the green hitting the green dot button? Did you see him?
No.
You know how those headsets work. When the head coach hits the green button, it overrides everybody else.
Okay. So he's talking into the
mic from what the TV copy showed. Okay. Carter, what took Garrett 40 seconds?
I rewatched that sequence at least 5 times now. And normally in that scenario, obviously the Les Miles Tennessee thing was a lot on less, but normally in that spot, a good chunk of it is on the quarterback to just get the F up there and run a damn play. Okay. I was live when doing broadcasting while the game was going on. I was shocked they didn't run on 3rd and 1 there. They didn't pass.
You mean you just knew you were going for it?
Yes. So it's crazy to me that you would take that much time after the 3rd and 1, and then on 4th and 1 you blow a timeout. Then coming out of the timeout, you still have a false start penalty, and then you have to convert a 4th and 5. It is elementary hour with Brian Kelly managing a game. It's a big problem.
You can't be on Brian Kelly if you're blaming Nuss for the timeout.
Yes. So outside of that,
the false start's not on him though.
No. Outside of that, you have the end of the second quarter situation. Then you have another special teams timeout that happens in the field goal scenario where Brian Kelly.
Yeah, that's bad. That one was bad too.
Yes. So is this all on Brian Kelly? No, it's just there's a bunch of different leaks in the dam. And this thing's about to burst if you don't start saying, hey, this is what we need to do. We just need to speed the F up all our operations, our communications, and all those different things. So it's a big problem. It's a big problem.
BK 60 plus years old. I doubt he wants to take over play calling.
I do think he needs to be more heavily involved.
Me and you had a conversation at the beginning of the season. Do you remember it? A long conversation about Sloan.
Yes,
It was about how can Brian Kelly walk back, getting involved in Florida, and then allowing him to stay as your OC when you literally had to give him a hand. And the question becomes: is Joe Sloan LSU's version of Tommy Rees?
I
Tommy Rees was better than this.
oh yeah, no, I'm in agreement, and I was very vocal about Tommy Reese not being great. I development's a problem. I do agree personnel's a problem, but there comes a time and place where it's like, can we just play a sound game where we're not hurting ourselves? Right. A lot of this happened in the Clemson game as well, where you're burning so many timeouts and the operation is so unbelievably clunky. And now you're in a spot where there were some bright spots. You did have a right tackle potentially emerge as a really nice piece in Carius Current.
You mean a guard that they made play right tackle?
Which is how we got 3 years of Emory Jones at right tackle, ironically. So, it's a weird spot to be in. It's a weird spot to be in as an LSU fan because Blake, there's going to be Joe Schmo with the purple and gold colored glasses that say, well, Carter and Blake, why are you being so critical? We only have one loss. The college football playoff is still ahead potentially for LSU.
If the word playoff comes out of any LSU fan's name, they need to sit down.
You're going to give them the Jim Moore rant.
Yeah, the playoffs. Look, I got to say this before because I got to skedaddle here.
Don't take my word. You can't. I would never say.
Oh, I'm glad that you remembered.
I would never say a Rudy Poo.
Okay. How about this? Let's get to brass tacks on one massive thing here. We had a lot of people in this media corps be very vocal and say we were going to destroy Ole Miss this past week. Not on AYS. I mean, you can't. How did you look at this offense the first couple of weeks and say that this couldn't happen? Thursday, I started the show by saying it's not a matter of if you're going to get beat. It's only going to be now a matter of when.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was.
And let me just tell you this again before I leave and skedaddle. You're the only person who can say Rudy Poo besides me, by the way, and The Rock.
Oh wait, I get a Rudy Poo pass. I get a Rudy Poo pass.
All right. It's not a matter of if you're going to get beat again this season. It's only a matter of when. Bottom line.
So let me ask you this. Even though we disagreed on the varying degrees of Garrett Nussmeier's fault in all of this, we basically disagreed on quite a bit. I'm glad we didn't shout like the 8 versus 9 schedule.
Yeah, you watched yesterday and said anyway, continue.
Hell, no.
All right, come on.
Yesterday was a perfect example of why we need 9.
Okay,
yesterday was
continue.
Be honest. Was yesterday not one of the best days? Was yesterday not one of the best days you've ever had as a college football fan?
Yeah, it was great. But I also understand that you have 12 of the top 15 strength of schedules right now in the SEC.
No, I would not disagree with that. But
all right, continue.
When Texas is coming to Baton Rouge next year, you're gonna be.
They were coming to LSU Baton Rouge next year anyway.
And guess what? You're getting all those extra great games to go along with it.
All right,
one extra week of.
I don't think we disagreed on a lot. I mean, I just put more so I don't protect Garrett as much as you do.
So someone gave you the dub in some of our debates. Someone in the chat. I miss so many.
I don't have the chat up.
There's a gazillion chats. Appreciate everybody in here. Don't forget, I will be on with Blake on his channel Tuesday night at 7:30. I will say this. Okay. There's a lot of comparisons to, Garrett to Jaden and Joe, and I was very vocal saying that I don't think he's going to get really that close
Should
to
have
him.
been compared to Miles Brennan.
Well, I mean, when Miles actually
Torso
started,
injury.
his deep ball was a thing of beauty. I mean, he threw some
But torso injury took him out, man.
Yeah, Garrett, stay away from the flip flops, please. I will say this. I do think the ceiling for this current LSU team, it would, yes, I think in a perfect scenario, LSU with what they have now is a 9-3 team. So this would be my question to you, Blake Theodore, my
Yeah,
favorite
somebody
Italian.
getting fired.
Oh,
Not like BK, but
no.
you got heads got to roll. You spent $20 million.
Could you see a world where LSU goes 10-2?
Yes.
Okay. So the ceiling isn't 9-3. You think?
No, the ceiling's 9-3 right now. If Garrett Nussmeier continues the way that we've been seeing him.
But you can see the potential of 10-2.
Yeah, like for an example, if Michael Van Buren throws a deep pass to Chris Hilton and it's converted, you're winning. If everything else remained the same. A&M's going to be tough. Vandy's going to be tough. South Carolina's going to be tough. Bama, you're not winning right now, I don't think. Arkansas, who knows? I mean, shit. You can lose 3 more games. Shit, you could lose. You can make an argument. You could lose 4 games out of this.
Yeah, I would definitely lean towards 9-3 at this juncture. The thing that concerns me is there's so many good. I say good. There's elite defensive linemen left on the schedule, and LT Overton of Alabama.
That's just a horrible play call.
What?
Horrible situation by Kirby. All right, I got to roll. The kids got to go to bed.
All right, buddy.
All right, see you.
See you, buddy.
All right, peace.
All right, we'll take a few more. I do need to go film study mode. I think you guys are coming at me. I don't think I disagreed with Blake as much as we normally do when he's on here on Sunday nights. Once again, I'll be on his channel Tuesday night at 7:30. I will say this about Garrett. Okay, now the big disagreement that Blake and I had last week was Weston Davis and how poorly Weston played in the game, and Blake defended Weston, and he was right in some of those defenses, and a lot of those were how you should block twist stunts and all of it. But for me, Weston Davis wasn't in the game. Carius Kern played, and Carius had some tough reps. He also had some reps where he put some future NFL defensive linemen into the turf. So that looks like a bright spot moving forward with Garrett. But I will stand by it, and it'll anger quite a few friends I have made over the years. But I do think Garrett Nussmeier should not be the starting quarterback for LSU unless he magically gets healthy. I will take a healthy Garrett Nussmeier going into South Carolina. But then again, one thing we did not address, and there's a reason we did not address it, or why I didn't ask Blake about it, is the health of Aaron Anderson is also very interesting. If Aaron isn't playing, that would be more reason to move on to a different quarterback. Okay. It would give you a lot more reasons to go with the better deep ball thrower, because the way Aaron plays meshes well with how Garrett plays, and Garrett's limitations match well with Aaron's limitations because he's not an outside receiver. He's an intermediate receiver. Okay. So I think if you were to look at it that way, I think you would need to move on from Michael Van Buren or to Michael Van Buren. Yeah, the South Carolina defensive line is no joke. Dylan Stewart is going to be tough. His biggest play last night was on a twist stunt, which is what we have struggled with. All right. Now, We didn't get into a bunch of, lesser known stories. Paul Mabinga is a massive issue. I do not want to see him start another game. I think you need to roll with Cohen Eccles at this point. Paul Mabinga is not an SEC starter level offensive guard. Now, Blake and I got into it about DJ Chester and his role and some of the things LSU did wrong last season. I'll still stand by, what I've said with DJ Chester, and the coaching staff has also basically agreed with their actions, not really letting him play at all. In the second half, he was available to go in, and they didn't put him in. Do you try DJ Chester at left guard? Because that was a real possibility for LSU going into the season. Paul Mabinga did not play well. I don't know many games where he's played at a starter's level for LSU right now. And the problem is, it's not so much a starter's level. I think there's a starter's level, and then there's a below average starter's level, and then there's just outright bad. And Mabinga has been more of that than the two former levels that we just described. I think LSU does need to heavily readjust that expectation for the left guard position. Now, we move on to some other positions. Center, another reason LSU had their issues was Braylon Moore had his worst game of the season. It was not a bad game. Braylon has been our best offensive lineman by far. But with those rush 3 drop 8s, while that wasn't Braylon Moore's fault, we had issues blocking odd man fronts. Now, odd versus even man fronts is a very weird way because defenses are so multiple now. But when teams put a nose tackle over our center, we had some issues. And it's not a Braylon Moore issue. When we played a primary odd front in Louisiana Tech a few weeks ago, we struggled. And that was more of a 3-3-5 stack, if anything else. Okay. Now, the next thing that I would bring up, and you'll see it tomorrow in the film study. Like, I just want people to understand how below expectations everyone on offense has been performing up to this point in the season. And I want you, whoever you are, and I do this. This is, what I do. And like enough, we have partners and we have viewers and all those different things. But part of when I do film studies or live streams or anything like that, I want you to put yourself in my shoes and ask yourself, what were your opinions on certain players going into the season? It's one thing if the offensive line struggles. Okay. We thought that this unit could potentially be a disaster. But like I have always said, if there is one thing you're going to take away from me, always in life, things that happen to you that are bad are bad. We all know it's bad. But where things really get you is when bad things happen that you think are good. And we thought going into the season, the LSU tight end room was going to be good. That we had 2 legitimate starter level tight ends replacing Mason Taylor, who we ran ragged. He had a ridiculously high snap share for a tight end. And he ran a lot on pre-snap motions, vertical routes, in breaking routes. He was our 3rd and 4th down machine converter in the Ole Miss game, Florida game, Arkansas game, so on and so on. Not only last year, but for over 3 seasons. It finally felt good that we had 2 tight ends that we felt great about. Both have performed way under expectations. Way under. Right now in PFF, they are 2 of our lowest graded players on the team. Okay, so we lost Slade Nagel. We had a new tight ends coach and Alex Atkins, which is a new position for him coaching to where he was at Florida State. How much of this is on him? How much of this is on the offense? Well, Barry Sharp and Trades Green were disasters yesterday. They were disasters. Now, it's not entirely on them. The throw by Garrett Nussmeier that Barry Sharp dropped was low, but you still got to catch it. The blocking from Barry Sharp has been very inconsistent, and Trades Green has just not been good this year. He's not been good. Clemson game, the red zone touchdown, wonderful. He is really good in the red zone. Really good. Last year, he caught a few touchdowns in the red zone. This year, he's had 2 touchdowns in the red zone, one that he caught, but another that, Sage Ryan batted into the arms of Nick Anderson. What is his best role? I don't think we can figure out the best way to use him. And then at the same time, we also need to have a discussion of what he is. As a blocker, he is a liability. Okay. We're seeing this in the NFL. A lot of what's happening in the NFL comes to college and vice versa. There are so many tight ends in the NFL who can't block that are struggling. The ones who can block are having good seasons. There's also more value in just a traditional blocking tight end because it creates numbers in the running game. And these receiving tight ends used to play defenses that played the run more. Now that defenses play so many looks with safeties playing so far back, there's extra value in having those that can block in the box and you be able to run and out-gap them in the run fits. So we are having some massive, massive, massive issues at the tight end position. And what you can see from time to time when you watch college football long enough, and the perfect example of this is the 2019 LSU championship game. The biggest gap in that game was Trevor Lawrence was a very overrated collegiate quarterback, and he was going up against the best collegiate quarterback of all time. When you have imbalances at opposite position groups, even though they don't necessarily go up against one another, you will see how much it can really affect a game, right? We played a lot of teams last year that had good safeties. Our safeties were terrible, okay? So, last in the game yesterday, Ole Miss does not have good safeties. They're okay. Our safeties are elite. And you saw that. AJ Halsey and Tamarcus Cooley kept our asses in the game. They were both that great in the game. But yesterday, the guy that destroyed us was Ole Miss's tight end, Harris. He's probably the best tight end in the SEC right now, number 8. He blocked us well. He caught passes out of the backfield, converted 4th downs, actually did something that not many people could do, converted a 3rd and long with Mansour Delane guarding him. So, going into the matchup, and this is why I say you put yourself in my seat. You be a college football pundit. If you would have told me before the season that going into LSU Ole Miss with a tight end who caught 40 passes last year with Oklahoma and another who is a 5-star sensation, if you would have said going into the year that we would get outplayed viciously at that position, it would be a problem. It would be a problem. It would be a shock. Okay. And then, one thing I should, when Blake was here, I should have been a little bit more, I guess you could say, forthright in Garrett's inability to run. Okay. It does eventually catch up to you. It really, really, really does. So there was a 3rd and medium where Garrett had a lane to run. And Suntoring Perkins was able to catch him from behind. And I would say probably more than half of the SEC quarterbacks convert that 3rd down with their legs pretty easily. Pretty easily. I'll go down the list. John Mateer on that play runs for no less than 15 yards. Marcel Reed, no less than 15 yards. Taylon Green, no less than 20 yards. Lenore Sellers, no less than 20 yards. Trinidad Chambliss, no less than 10 yards. Gunnar Stockton, amazing runner, really good at reading pockets, 10 to 15 yards. Auburn's quarterback, Jackson Arnold, all he does is take off and run. He's getting 10 to 15. Taylon Green, okay, the best quarterback in the SEC right now is arguably Taylon Green. Didn't have that great of a game yesterday, but it really wasn't his fault. He's running no less than 30 yards there. Ty Simpson's running for that first down. And then the thing that drives me nuts is Garrett was wearing the baggy undershirt. Okay, I understand that may not seem like a lot to you, but if you already don't run well, why are you? Why would you give the pass rusher something for him to grab onto, a stretchy thing for him to grab onto? Let's go to Seth Lopez. All right. I'm done ranting. I'm going to get to as many questions as we possibly can. Why have we gone away from these slot fades? Nuss has been consistent on that throw in the past, and these receivers can make the catches. Okay, so I will get to the slot fade. That you're not the only one that's brought that up, and we'll touch on that right after a very short break. PHL Nation, it's time to lock in and get serious really quickly with our friends at Fortified Gulf Coast and FortifiedGulf.com. This is my buddy Ramey. He is one of many Fortified Gulf Coast inspection professionals that are doing something to help you not only save your home, but your memories.
The Fortified program got started about 13 years ago. We adopted it here in New Orleans about 2.5 years ago. It's a more advanced way of doing the roof. It adds an extra layer of protection, whereas even if a hurricane was to pull the shingles off this roof, water will still not get into the house.
So yes, your establishment is important, but what about the things you can't replace? That family scrapbook or that painting that's been handed down from Meemaw to Papaw and to you. It is important to protect that today with Fortified Roofing. And while this seems like a priceless asset, did you know it can actually save you on your homeowner's insurance up to 37% if you are in South Louisiana? Just call the number 504-444-7563. That's 504-444-7563. Or Power Hour Network listeners and viewers, you might be consuming this content with that crick in your back that you've been trying to get rid of for so long. Take this as your sign today to book your appointment with LabordTherapy.com. In the Lafayette region, there is no one that you will find that cares more about any different type of pain that you might have than the team at LabordTherapy.com. Book today. Once again, that's LABORDE therapy.com, or you can visit one of their 5 locations all throughout the Lafayette region. Alrighty, so I want to share the play that I am referencing, and here you go. So, you know, I this is tough because I'm using it from the actual film study breakdown. This is an easy just tuck and go. Perkins is running down quite a few guys because he's, you know, a good player for Ole Miss. But, you know, it would be nice to be able to pick this up. And I would say Van Buren is probably picking this up with his legs. Okay, so that for sure. And I see a few people in the chat saying, Eddie says, I think you're absolutely insane for wanting MVB to start. I'm going to wait till more info comes out on Garrett's situation. I will say, I like a change in 2 weeks. And if Aaron isn't healthy, I'll let Brian Kelly address it when it's time to talk about it. But if he's not healthy, that really takes away one of Garrett's superpowers. It really does. Okay. So let's get into like individual plays, because we've seen a few of you bring up, I say a few of you. Seth, who's been with us for a while, Why have we gone away from slot fades? Nuss has been consistent on that throw in the past, and these receivers can make the catches. All right. So let's go to some of our slot fades from last year. Okay. One of them was the dime from Garrett Nussmeier versus South Carolina that he threw to Aaron, and that was early in the season. Then the best slot fade you can throw, and it's important to clarify what a slot fade is. There are fade routes and goal line fades, but slot fades are also at times just pure slot goes, right? And the one he threw to Kyle Parker last year was Stafford-esque. A lot of juice, thrown with a perfect amount of weight, to use an English soccer term. And the ball as much caught Kyle as he caught the ball. That's how good of a throw it actually was. And were there a few other good slot fades that we threw? Yeah, for sure. But why hasn't LSU gone back to that play? Well, the first thing is slot fades are always going to be more effective when the opposing team is in what's called single high. Okay? Single high means you only have one safety, and that safety is normally in the middle of the field. Okay? So slot fades are the perfect man coverage single high beaters. The problem is, while teams don't just play too high versus us, which is two deep safeties, they're able to basically live in pre-snap too high looks. So if pre-snap we're getting a lot of too high looks, it's hard to run slot fades into that, if that makes sense, because you don't know if they're rolling a safety into the box or not. So you go back to the best slot fade thrower in LSU history. It's probably Jaden Daniels. Garrett, obviously, Joe Burrow was really good at it. It was a Terrace Marshall touchdown to end it versus Clemson. Why were our slot fades so good? Well, we had better receivers. Malik and BTJ were absolutely lethal. All our early touchdowns versus Ole Miss were slot fades that Jaden threw to BTJ and Kyron in that game in particular. We played a lot of single high teams, though. Now, why did we play a lot of single high teams and single high looks? Well, it's simple. They had to bring an extra guy into the box to stop our run game with Jaden Daniels. So it gave us more looks to throw it. Now, to your point, Seth, even if you can't run the football, you still can get vertical. You still can run slot goes. We still do run slot goes, right? We've completed a few this year. You can still run it versus cover 3 and quarters and all those different things and still make it work. But that's a problem right now with Garrett, is for whatever reason, the deep ball has been really bad. It's been really bad. I think really bad is a strong word, but compared to how people view him as a thrower, it's really bad. If he, and I've already done an NFL draft breakdown on Garrett after last year, so it doesn't include this year's reps. You can go to Power Hour NFL, and you could see me give outside of the LSU vantage point and the college vantage point, the way I view Garrett Nussmeier as an NFL prospect. I was like, I would view him as a 3rd or 4th round NFL draft prospect. Now, I'll also tell you, we've had people on here. We've had Iron City Film on here, really good film analyst on Twitter. And he said, yeah, I think Garrett Nussmeier is a 1st-round quarterback. And going into the season, I thought he would make that leap. But right now, it's tough. It's really, really, really tough. So to answer your question, Seth, because film questions are more difficult to answer audibly than without the actual tape playing. Number one, you're dealing with the situation where your wide receivers just are okay. Then you're dealing with a quarterback who's struggling to throw the deep ball. And then you're dealing with a run game that's not working. Let's go to Drew. We keep running outside zone out of the damn pistol. It's nonsense that we continue to do that. Let's go to Roby. Our best running play is inside zone. Why doesn't Nuss take it around the corner if the inside is clogged up? I noticed a couple plays he had the wide open field. It's so tough to break this down because we only ran the ball 9 times. I also will say, and it's tough because we don't have the helmet comms, and Blake was breaking down how the helmet communications actually work and how head coaches can override it. I personally don't know how all of it works. I just know it gets cut off at 15 seconds. What would be interesting, though, is because we've had so many pre-snap penalties and so many timeouts and that have been burned, what needs to be brought up to Brian Kelly, what is our pre-game planning as far as who communicates what to the offense? Basically, what is everyone's job? What are they doing? It's a problem. It is a massive problem because there are plenty of instances where our receivers aren't even looking and ready to play. There was an instance of that versus Southeastern. There's actually a couple of instances of that happening. And it's an issue. Like we need to get on the same page. Let's go to Brian. This is the worst rush offense in the NCAA, regardless of formation or situation. It's not an argument anymore. This is a terribly coached offensive line. Yeah, so he's right. He's right. Okay. And a lot of this is on BK. A lot of this is on Sloan. And a good bit of this is on Garrett. Now, I do want to bring up the lack of mobility when it comes to your run game. So I do a lot of film reviews on the Tennessee Volunteers, and I'm more so focused on their offense, but I watched a good bit of their defense late last night versus Mississippi State. And Mississippi State has a quarterback who is slower than Garrett Nussmeier, and he had a really bad injury from the year before in Blake Shapen. Now, Blake can run some, but he's not a runner. They really have no problem running the ball. Their running back is Fluff Bothwell from South Alabama, who we played last year. Fluff's really good. He's probably as good as any running back on our team right now. They're still able to run the ball. Now, why are they still able to run the ball? Well, they have Jeff Lebby. And what does Jeff Lebby do? Well, he runs the Briles-Kiffin system. So while Garrett's inability to run does hurt our rushing ability, it's a calamity of different things as to why the LSU offense isn't great. And if there was an Occam's razor, which is the simplest explanation for why something isn't working, it's a philosophical term. I minored in philosophy. The simplest way I could describe the LSU offense having issues is they really are limited in things that they do good. So, what are the things on this LSU team that you would consider to be offensively something they are elite in? Are there any elite producers on this team from last year's team or that were transferred into this year's team? The answer to that is there's really no one outside of maybe Garrett, outside of maybe Caden, and Aaron. That's it. So, with let's say Chris Hilton, he was way underthrown on a touchdown that would have got him going. That would have been huge for his confidence. But then again, he's also just never really been a big producer for this team. So is it on Garrett that Chris isn't getting proper service through the air? Yeah, it is. They did connect on a nice deep out. Deep outs have never been a problem with Garrett Nussmeier. But Chris has also been in a phone booth in coverage quite a few times as well. So when he actually does get open, we underthrow it. I do think Chris has overall been fine. He's drawn quite a few pass interference flags. What about Barryon Brown? How good has Barryon Brown been this year? He's been good. I don't think anyone would consider him to be bad. But then again, there are quite a few receivers in the portal. Some that were rated lower than Barryon Brown that are having good seasons. What about Nick Anderson? He catches a touchdown and then he catches a really nice ball when we were trying to come back. It's a problem. So yeah, there's a lot of people in here wanting to talk about Chris, and I'm down to do it. It's just hard for me to really break him down when the thing that he does that provides explosiveness to this offense is where Garrett is really struggling. So while I have always been skeptical of Chris Hilton, most of which has been health-related reasons, it's so tough as a wide receiver to have like an elite breakout in year 5 of their career. So, how much of this is on Garrett and how much of this is on Chris? It's really tough to say. It's really, really, really tough to say. And then, we brought up the Trey Green thing a little bit earlier. It's I don't know what to do. I really, really, really don't know what to do. Because he's not a yak guy. So if you throw the football to him, there's not going to be many instances of him doing something after the catch. Is he a tight end? Well, he's not blocking well. He's also probably not fully healthy. And he had 2 pretty big mistakes in the first half that cost us first downs. Now, if you don't mind, it has been such a tough year for LSU offense in general, not only at this level, but at the next level. I would be remiss if I did not include how pissed off I am that we as a nation decided to hold the world's biggest sporting event next summer in MetLife Stadium. The World Cup final will be in MetLife Stadium, where it tore up Malik Neighbors' ACL. It hurt Odell Beckham Jr. countless times. Sterling Shepard. There's a gazillion players. And obviously the turf is going to be different for the World Cup final. But that stadium is cursed. So my prayers are out to Malik Neighbors. But Brian Thomas Jr. in producing. Joe Burrow's hurt. Jaden Daniels is hurt. Which, of course, affects, Jamar Chase. It's been a tough year, especially for someone that plays a lot of fantasy and happily drafts a lot of LSU rosters. Let's go to BT. What made 2023 Florida State so awesome? Oh, is this an Alex Atkins question? Well, they could run the ball with Trey Benson. Keon Coleman was great. Jordan Travis was mobile and just good. Their offensive line was really good. They had an elite pass rush. Yeah, I know, Seth. That's why I said they are changing the turf, but it's still cursed. I wouldn't have it there. I would not have it there. It's not really a sexy location, too. New York isn't ever that great of a place for a sporting event anyway. Dallas is better. New Orleans is better. Chicago is better. Why hasn't Alex Atkins helped our run game? He's the run game coordinator. I don't think he really has any sway at all, based on my understanding. Because if you come from a counter-based system, we ran counter a few times yesterday. Why, if you're the run game coordinator, we would be running that more. We would quit trying to do outside zone. We cannot run outside zone at a pistol. We don't have the guards to do it. And they also know it's coming. What I would do schematically, and I will show it in the film study, okay? Let me know what you guys want. All right, for part 2, I'm going to release all of these. There's also Patreon exclusives that are being released. Our special teams is not great right now. All right, we are doing some nonsensical things on special teams right now that don't make a lot of sense. But if you watching this right now want me to do part 2 of an LSU offensive breakdown for tomorrow night's film study, type O for offense. If you want me to do a defensive film study, type D for defense. Now, while you answer that, I do want to shout out Samuel. He is correct. Good to have you back, Samuel. He says punter is our best player. Chadwick is good. He's good. I do also want to show Chris Hilton some love. He's been a willing gunner on punt team. Okay. So a lot of you want more offense. Pierce says defense. I say this knowing that there's so much more on Blake Baker's shoulders than he ever thought there would be with this year's team. But yesterday was really, really tough. Really tough. Because the third down conversions that they were converting were easy. Okay. So, Blake and I got into a little back and forth about this as far as Blake Baker is concerned. And his major point was, in the grand scheme of things versus a Lane Kiffin offense, 24 points on the road should be enough to win you a game. Okay. And he's right. My pushback to that would be, number one, and this isn't really a pushback, it's just a fact. We are the only team to have not scored 24 points versus a Power 4 team yet. So every team that watches this stream, you don't need to watch any of my breakdowns. You just need to get to 24 points, and you're probably going to win, which is why I was telling everyone to bet the under. All right. My 2 plays for this game was the under and Ole Miss first half, which cleared easily. But that's not here nor there. Also gave out South Carolina by 5. I'm 5-0 in my last SEC picks. Just saying, okay? That's probably going to change pretty quickly. But those 24 points are a little misleading. The first thing is, while it was a great play by A.J. Halsey, a guy who's really reliable with the football in his hands, Caden Lee, fumbled the ball at the goal line. Okay? Fumbles are very erratic in nature. A lot of times, he's scoring there. But A.J. Halsey is an absolute beast. And while that fumble was a really, really, really good play by A.J. Halsey, we had Caden Lee wide open. Wide open. In 2023, Caden Lee over the middle, wide open, killed us. Last season, Caden Lee killed us over the middle. All right. And the reason I spent so much time last week doing a defensive film study, getting ready for Lane Kiffin's offense, what he's going to do if you're going to play with the heavier personnel, which we did, he is going to run overs on you if you're going to play man coverage. We said they're not going to throw Mott's or Delane's direction. That's something, obviously, that most people shouldn't do at this point. And our other corners had some tough outings. But I'm fine with them completing deep balls down the sideline in jump ball situations, because I would say in the long term, if teams are going to continue to do that versus DJ Pickett and PJ Woodland, who are insanely long, insanely athletic, they're going to start winning those battles, which Woodland eventually did. So I can live with that. The problem I had was how soft we played on third downs and how static we got defensively on third downs. And there's a few different reasons why you have to be static at times, because Ole Miss does play so quickly offensively that you really can't get too exotic. But at the same time, we gave them a lot of pitch and catch third downs. And my favorite thing about Blake Baker as a defensive coordinator at a lot of the stops he's been is, it's not just been lockdown defense. The problem was, or a big bonus for him, was so many of the conversions that other teams would have on his defenses were difficult. They were making very high-level difficult plays. My problem is, go back and look at this for yourself. The third down conversions and fourth down conversions that Ole Miss was having yesterday were wide open. Wide open. There weren't a whole lot of, hey, this guy just absolutely demolished you on a route, or he just juked you out of your shoes, or he broke 12 tackles. There was some of that. Someone mentioned the 3rd and 14 conversion a minute ago, and I can somewhat live with that because that was a really good anticipatory throw. And Lane told Trinidad Chambliss what to do. He brought it up in the post-game press conference. Look to the right, throw to the backside dig. So that was elite quarterback play and elite coaching. Really, really, really elite stuff. I was okay with that one. The problem was what happened at the end of the second quarter can't happen. The fourth down conversions, where their tight end, who is having a massive season, untouched in the flats multiple times. Their backup slot receiver, number 17, easy pitch and catch completions multiple times. Caden Lee running wide open over the middle. So some of that you could chalk up to Lane being a really good OC, and that's going to happen to you. But if we are going to be considered the best defense in the SEC, that was just one too many times where we were just giving stuff up wide open for me. So I would have done a lot of different things if I were Blake Baker. And the reason that the Harold Perkins thing became such a firestorm in the chat a little bit earlier is it's unusual when you play a team like Lane Kiffin's that you play three linebackers as much as we played three linebacker looks over the course of the game. And what that can do, if you don't want Harold Perkins to be out in coverage versus these slot receivers, what you have to do is bring a safety in, and then it makes you a little bit more static defensively. So I wouldn't say it was a disaster game from Baker yesterday, where in the first 4 games, he hasn't just been great. He's been the best defensive coordinator in the SEC, and it's not really been close. But it was tough. Now, another defense of Blake Baker is that the offensive coordinators are so good, and defensive statistics can be very random at times. I don't mind one bad game, and I wouldn't consider yesterday to be a colossally bad game from the defense. So, in the big picture, the 4 games that he has coached, he won us the Clemson game. He won us the Florida game. He more so won us the Florida game than the Clemson game. I think a lot of you would agree with that. But what concerns me when I watch games is when you're giving stuff up wide open. They played way more than 74. They played a lot. They played in 80 plus. Just depends on how you want to count it. If you don't want to include kneel downs and all of that, but it was in the 80s. But no, I wouldn't say the loss is on the defense. It's not what I'm saying at all. It's just we made things pretty easy on them. And I think we could have done a few different things. Yeah, we got to stop calling it a D2 QB, though. I mean, basically a D2 QB is what Cam Ward was, and he was the number 1 overall pick. BK wasn't upset post-game, which was surprising. I think he was upset. I just don't think he wants to be viral again. He doesn't want the USC thing to happen. He doesn't want the Florida thing to happen. So I get why. I'm getting a lot of pushback for some of my defensive criticisms. And that's okay. You have unpopular opinions from time to time on here, but it comes with it. I'm not saying, but once again, I'm not saying they were atrocious. They did a lot of things well. I do think it would have looked a whole hell of a lot of worse if AJ Halsey and Tamarcus Cooley did not play as elite as they played, and in particular, Patrick Payton early in the game. Okay, batting down quite a few passes. Okay. No, it's fine. Look, I had a few of you in the chat earlier saying that Blake was ripping my face off in the debate. It really wasn't a debate, though. It really wasn't. I try, though, when I have a guest on, not just to have an opposing view, but also to have a devil's advocate way of looking at all different types of arguments. The way it normally works, since, I don't know, I think Blake and I have done probably 250 segments together. I'm more, I don't know, it's a very high number. I had Jacques Doucet on here last Thursday, and that was more of like an interview of what his life has been like. And there was a lot of Ole Miss breakdown in there as well. But, he's not a breakdown analyst. But he knows ball. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just for first-time guests, I want my audience to get to know them. I don't have some massive audience or anything like that, but I want them to get to know who they're talking to, right? But sometimes I want to provide a different viewpoint that sometimes strays from my own, just for the sake of discussing every possible angle as what could be wrong with LSU. Now, one thing that's very interesting, and it's a big problem I have with the PFF, is, and I don't swear by PFF, I don't. I do think when a player is not playing well, they're pretty accurate at getting that right. I do think, though, they are a little too lenient on QB play. Like, Garrett is still the highest rated player on our offense on PFF, I believe. Let's see. Yes, by a wide margin, too. They have him as an 84 grade, which I just can't get there. I just can't get there. I will say they did have him as a 60.7 versus Ole Miss, which is one of his lowest marks in his career. But yeah, I know Carvis disagrees with me a lot, which is why I love him. Woodward. Yeah, I can't. I didn't mean to miss your super chat, Dane. I appreciate your membership as well. Carter, all the problems you have identified start at the top. The job is too big for Brian Kelly. He is in over his head. I don't think the way I would describe it is the job being too big for him, because he has a resume that is better than 90% of the coaches that are currently, well, I would probably say 99% of the coaches that coach college football at all. So I don't know if too big is the right word. I don't think it's necessarily that he can't get this job done. It's just he is not coaching at LSU as well as he did at Notre Dame. And there are a variety of factors as to why that could be the case. And before I get into that, I want to audibly thank our partners, Zion Imaging. If you're in the Shreveport region and you're interested in a 360 spin booth that could take your wedding, quinceañera, all of that to the next level, go to Zion Imaging, XYAN Imaging. And then also our friends at Fortified Gulf Coast. You saw the spot a little bit earlier. Fortify your roof today. If your shingles rip off, guess what? Water could still get through your roof. That's what a fortified roof protects against, right? It's an extra layer of protection, and it could save you on your homeowner's insurance up to 37% off, which is a pretty big number. If any of y'all have ever had a roof done, you know how expensive it can get. Just check it out for yourself. Fortified Gulf Coast and fortifiedgulf.com, all throughout South Louisiana. And also our friends at Labor Therapy. Thomas at Labor Therapy actually reached out to me recently and said, Carter, fellow doctors are fans of the show. They heard you mention Labor Therapy. Labor Therapy, they're the absolute best. And Garrett Nussmeier, I'll say this. Garrett, if you're watching this and you want an independent review, I could take care of that for you. I'll cover the bill at labortherapy.com. Okay. Actually, I don't know if I could cover that. Are you insured? So let's talk about Brian Kelly. It is interesting that 2022, we had the worst special teams we've ever had. 2023, we had the worst defense we have arguably ever had. 2024, we were really bad in some areas. That also was one of the least talented rosters we've had. And then 2025, we get the NIL and all of that together. And then we have the offense be the worst offense we've seen. Brian Kelly did catch a break in multiple ways that Bryce Underwood did not come, because there would be screams from the high heavens for sure to have him starting by now. But then obviously that money theoretically went to the new players. One thing I will say about Brian Kelly is that it is so important to get the coordinators right. It is so important. Assistant coaches, sure, those do matter. In particular, your offensive line coach, okay? So, what does that mean exactly? I'm going to bring up something that is a little sore really quickly on the offensive line coaching thing. Lance Hurd right now is playing the best football of his career right now. The game he had this past weekend versus Mississippi State was so good. It was so good. Okay. Now, were there some rough reps mixed in there? Yeah, but the elite was truly elite. He was putting guys out of the club. You would think he was a bouncer at Fred's or at the Revelry, kicking guys out. So, you can get into offensive line development, all those different things. But we have just not done a good job hiring coordinators. We just haven't. Now, I will address the T-Bob tweet a little bit further. I'm not Mr. Insider. I always tell you I'm not Mr. Insider. But I will bring up a few of the comments I had with Blake as far as the divorce with BK and Dimbrock. This was the second time that they split. The second time. It happened while they were at Notre Dame. Dimbrock went to Cincinnati and won a lot of football games with Desmond Ridder as their quarterback. Now, the competition wasn't as great, but Desmond Ridder, then he leaves our team, joins a first-year head coach in Mike Dimbrock. I said Mike Dimbrock. In Marcus Freeman. And their offenses have been very good. They have been very good. Now, have they had a ridiculous amount of talent on their offenses? At running back, yes. Everywhere else, though, their tight end number 9 is really good. He's going to be a great NFL tight end. But the offensive line is good. The receivers are okay. They don't have a Jeremiah Smith. I think Aaron Anderson would be the best receiver on their team right now. You just simply cannot underrate play calling experience. Actually calling the plays. It is so big. It is so big. Actually calling the plays. So let me get this correct here with Matt House. So LSU hired Matt House to come over from the Kansas City Chiefs. The last time he had called plays was 2018. So from 2019, 2020, and 2021, when he was a linebackers coach, he was not calling the shots. Steve Spagnuolo was. And then he joins LSU, and, well, he was mostly bad. And then Joe Sloan had play calling experience at Louisiana Tech. How much of it was him? How much of it was Holtz or whoever? Actual experience when it comes to calling plays matters. It just does. Who are the best play callers in the SEC right now? Well, Lane Kiffin, he's called plays for forever. Josh Heupel, he's called plays for forever. And Lane doesn't technically call the plays. It is collaborative, but it's his offense with Charlie Weiss. Bobby Petrino has been elite the last couple of seasons with Arkansas. Elite. Experience matters. It just does when it comes to actually calling the shots. Now, why does play calling experience matter so much? Well, first year play callers can work. We've seen it work in the NFL. We've seen it work in college. Okay, there's so many different factors if a play caller is succeeding or not succeeding. But the reason is you cannot practice play calling. You just can't. There's nothing you can do to do it. There's no preseason games, and even if there was, it's going to be structured differently. The only experience you get from actually calling plays is actually being the man in the arena. It's just that simple. It's so damn hard. And one thing that's interesting, and I always bring this up, even if it's the most vanilla answers of all time, when coordinators are made available to the media, it doesn't matter which team, you should listen. Head coach media appearances are a dime a dozen. And a lot of times the reporters are asking them more vague questions and they're better prepared for it. And Blake Baker was asked specifically about a few things he said about the defense. But in a few different press conference settings, Blake Baker brought up, hey, the thing that I've gotten better at is changing things as the games move on, adjusting and adapting. Let's go to Samuel. Why has the play calling gotten so much worse than last year? I've answered a lot of Samuel's questions. You got a super chat. I do want to mix it up here. Let's go to Brian. Brian, what's up? Bring in Mike Gundy as an offensive analyst. I've seen a few Mike Gundys. I've also seen a few bring in Sam Pittman. All right. As someone that covers Arkansas a lot on the SEC channel, Tennessee and Arkansas are my two big teams, and Georgia and Oklahoma do really well in there as well. Sam Pittman has a lot of money that he probably never thought he was going to have because he's a career position coach. So it's kind of an Ed Orgeron situation, except things did go sour at the end, but Pittman was never truly that great at Arkansas. I had a few good seasons when KJ Jefferson was locked in. So Sam Pittman has a huge lake house in a town called Hot Springs, Arkansas. So this is kind of and I know it's Arkansas or whatever, but this is kind of a resort town. It's where Elvis would go vacation and so on. Al Capone as well. And he's got this huge lake house and so much money. He's got $10 million just to leave Arkansas now. And he just got done with a hip replacement. Do you really want him to take a huge pay decrease, which could affect his buyout amount, especially with Arkansas having him go to rival LSU, and Sam Pittman come in and be replacing his protege? Now, he might hate Brad Davis. I don't know what their relationship is like now. I don't know how Sam would feel about that. Okay. And if that were to happen, let's just say LSU does fire Brad Davis and Brian Kelly says, we're going with Sam Pittman. don't you think Brad, who has amazing relationships with quite a few of the players on the team, don't you think Brad's going to say, "Hey, you guys need to leave. This guy sucks." I don't think Brad would do that, but if there was an incentive for him to do that, it would be the guy he initially left from Arkansas coming in to take his job. So I'm not in on Sam Pittman. I'm also not in on Mike Gundy. I'm not. I've spoken to a few Oklahoma State players, and they have said for years now, it's time to move on. Now, if Gundy really wanted to be here, hell yes. Give him the damn clipboard now to call our plays. But he's not there. Okay? Not there. Pittman is a good recruiter also. 2 or 3 not good as 1. The Kenny Chesney Trivia Master. Is he a good recruiter? He once was, but I don't know if he is anymore. Sam also had a massive surgery, a massive hip replacement. That was very painful. And once again, this is important. This is something that I know a decent amount about. He's burnt out. But if he was truly motivated to come in, yeah, he's probably the best offensive line coach out there. Also in the same vein, though, Ed Orgeron theoretically is the best and most qualified defensive line coach out there. Do you want to really take a demotion? You would be getting a 6-figure sum, a high 6-figure sum. Yes, AP, but there's more to it than just that. I'll say that. What's up, Gabe? Okay. We'll take a few more. No, you straight, Samuel. You don't have to donate anything. I appreciate it though because it does feed my dog. Why has the play calling gotten so much worse from last year to this year? Okay. Let's talk about the LSU offense last year to where we are now. All right. So, I've gone on this rant a few times, but Sunday night streams do have significantly more people. They always have. We used to do Sunday night film studies, but now we don't. We just release a film study in the morning. So I've been up since 6 a.m. So if I have not been, or actually no, I stayed up till 6 a.m. and then woke up at 9 a.m. and I've cut 3 film studies today. So if it seems like I'm not as sharp as I normally am, that's part of it. Why was the LSU offense better last year than this year? Okay. This is always a really good way of looking at life. Okay. I've been very philosophical lately. The first thing is when things that you think are good are bad, it's worse than things that you know are bad. Okay. Paul Mabenga is not a great SEC starting LSU offensive lineman. He's just not great. But we knew that. We had 4 games of data. You always have a little wiggle room that maybe an extra year of training and growth and all of that, especially if he's younger for his classification. You always wonder if he could take that step forward. But based on what we knew from last year, it wasn't good. It was not good at all for Paul Mabinga. Okay. So we knew he wasn't going to be great. But Trey'Dez Green was someone that we all thought was going to be elite. He has been dreadful. He is PFF's lowest graded player on our team right now. I think outside of Weston Davis. I can pull it up right here. It's Trey'Dez Green, 29th. Chris Hilton, 32nd. Barra Sharp, 33rd. And Weston Davis is a distant last. That's tough. It's really tough. All right. The second thing, though, that I would bring up is in college, systems matter more than your players in the long term. In the short term, and in any given year, your players are more important than your system. All right. So let's talk about Joe Sloan's offense last year. We were first in the SEC in third down conversion percentage. Whether you power forward adjust the numbers or not, we were an elite third down offense. And what's crazy is a lot of those third downs that were converted were third and longs. So why did we convert so many good third and longs? Well, we had really, really, really good offensive tackle pass protectors. They could hold up in protection for these longer developing plays to work. We also had Mason Taylor, who was so big on third down. Kyron Lacey was really good on third down. And Garrett was healthier, and he had a lot more juice in his arm. And he was just better. He's regressed. But to philosophically explain it, the plays were working because we had elite players making those plays. It wasn't like the third down conversions that Ole Miss had, where the play designs forced some of our coverage bust and some of our defensive mistakes forced some coverage bust. And what you need to ask is, how many plays did we make last year were the byproduct of an elite play call? How many elite play calls did we have yesterday? Well, we have a really interesting way we run reverses with Barryon Brown. That was a good play. Really sexy play design, especially how we sequenced it. It was really good. The Xavion runs are somewhat effective. Our quick screen game this year has been really good. So those play designs are opening up some big gains for us. But outside of that, how many rush designs do we have where gaps are opening wide open? There's not a whole lot of them. You put on a Georgia game, there's a lot of them. And Georgia does not have a great offensive line this year. You put on Ole Miss, you put on Tennessee, they have so many. Where it's not only that the play designs are great, it's that the players run them well. So the system is still great. Take a look at Tennessee. They lost their starting quarterback. No problem. They lost Brew McCoy. No problem. They lost Dylan Sampson, the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. Their offense is better this year than what it was last year. Okay? Now, would Dylan Sampson make this version of the Tennessee offense better? Yes. He's probably a better running back than the guys Tennessee have now. But the system is still in place. Okay? So that's why when I say, hey, year to year, the players are more important than the system. But the overarching system has to be something that works in the grand scheme of things. And now we have Joe Sloan's system that has not done anything. Now, out of everything that I went back and forth on with my guest earlier, Blake Ruffino, who's great, some of you don't like him, and that's fine. I'll always stand 10 toes down and defend Blake. He did bring up an interesting point. It's one that I bring up quite often with quite a few different coaches. I am never a fan of a coach who gets fired, who only gets to work with one quarterback. I'm not a big fan of that. And this is why. You don't really know anything about the coordinator because so much of it is heavily reliant on who the quarterback is. Now, the truth is, Garrett Nussmeier has made Joe Sloan look a lot better than Joe Sloan has done with Garrett Nussmeier. I think most of you, even if you're the biggest Nuss critic, you would agree with that. But at the same time, what if Joe Sloan and what he wants to do as an offensive play caller does not mesh well with Garrett's strengths? What if Joe needs a mobile quarterback for his offense to succeed? Okay. Then, there's other things that you can get into. All right. Stuff that happens behind the scenes. Is Garrett someone that is relearning Joe's system when he makes changes? How hard is Garrett working behind the scenes to really envision what Joe wants out of the offense? I would like to think it's great. I get a lot of lip service that that's great. Joe does have a good relationship with Garrett based on my understanding. But that's not really mattered up to this point. So that's right. Well, Platinum Obama, that's fine. I mean, there's Matt Moscona's got the biggest audience. There's people that don't like me that listen to his show. There's people that like me and don't like his show. That's fine. I wish my audience was as big as his. I would be able to actually move to Baton Rouge where my wife and I want to be. But, we're getting there. We're trying to get there. I'm trying to go national, for being honest. So, which is going to be tough. It's getting harder by the day. But it's also getting better by the day. Cajun curveball. There's a few people with the green letter emojis that were destroying me in the chat earlier. That's okay. Oh, man, dude. The funniest thing about this is Ole Miss fans are trying to victory lap some Sage Ryan takes I've had a long time ago, and it's like it's like you give it time. I'll give you time. Let's go to DJ. Why are the position groups rotation so heavy? I don't know. I will defend LSU in that regard because Aaron did get hurt. So, things do go up in a tizzy. Womack had a few nice plays in the game, even though he had 0 tackles. Sage really didn't do a whole lot. Logan Diggs had the touchdown. So they didn't destroy us, but they also didn't play bad. Blake says BK is not a leader of men. Well, see, I don't think they have a press conference in the morning because it's the bye week. I need to go check my schedule. Nuss should have been benched last night 100%. Says safeguard your soul. Hey, it's good to see you again. Change your profile. Mike, one of my closest viewers, agreeing with Pegasus. Pegasus says, I'm still not sure Nuss is injured. I think the correct response to this, I think this is the only thing I feel I am 1,000% right about. Is Nuss injured? We don't know. Only really he could answer it, and he's not answering it. And Brian Kelly has said he's fine. What I would say, though, is some of the things that aren't going well for him were issues with the last year's Garrett Nussmeier. Okay. For some reason, we got an influx of people on Facebook that just tuned in. I don't know why. Once again, I've been a big Nuss defender. This was my position on Garrett Nussmeier going into the season. I thought he was very good. I thought he was a top 3 quarterback in the SEC. I thought you could make a legit argument that he is the best quarterback in college football. You can make all those different things. But I was also very vocal in saying he's not Jaden, he's not Joe. I don't think he's in that Manziel transcendent tier. I think New York City was possible. Winning it was going to be tough because he doesn't run, and he sometimes chooses to not run, even though it's wide open for him to run. His deep ball accuracy is a big problem, okay? It is hard to win Heisman trophies in particular where you need to put up big numbers if you can't hit the deep balls, okay? Then, this is what really bothers me. He has quite a bit of turnover luck, and the red zone is where he can get really rancid. It can get really rancid in that point of the field. And you lose so much EV when you throw interceptions in the red zone. Okay, you really, really, really do. Where you don't lose as much EV is when you're throwing interceptions on deep passes, arm punts, if you will. We rarely get that. Okay. Something else I will say, and it is a little irresponsible that what I'm about to say is going to be put out into the internet, which is fine. I want to talk about Tennessee's offense. We're not going to run Tennessee's offense. But Tennessee's offense is considered by many the best system in the SEC. Top 3 system in the SEC. We'll go with that. What did Josh Heupel do? He brought in Jim Chaney as a consultant. Now, how much has Jim Chaney helped this Tennessee offense? I'm not plugged in enough to know, okay? But he changed a lot. People that are way smarter than me that do Tennessee breakdowns, cover the team every single day, they're like, hey, this offense looks different. It's not just a new quarterback. Josh Heupel tinkered with his own system. And I am telling you right now, this is so irresponsible. But one thing Joey Aguilar has done this year for Tennessee is he's just throwing the damn thing up and giving guys a chance to make a play. When it's clear one-on-one deep ball situations, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of Garrett's F it, I'm going to throw it into heavy coverage, maybe we make the play, are line drive intermediate throws where there's going to be a high likelihood that you need to get the football through multiple waves of defenders to get the ball there. Okay, so a good example of this was you have the Trey Green holding penalty. Then he rolls out to the right side after throwing a dangerous vertical ball to Aaron. He rolls out to the right side and throws the football into heavy traffic, where there were 3 different guys who could have intercepted it. The route concepts, both the first and second down play calls were really bad, but you still can't throw that because you're backed up deep in your own territory. You're in your own opponent's red zone. But it's also not really giving a guy a chance to make a play. It's you hoping that the ball could hit them. Whereas Joey Aguilar, when he throws interceptable passes, now Joey in this game versus Mississippi State had some mechanical issues. He threw a lot of balls high in the intermediate, and it led to interceptions. But he hit a deep ball to Syracuse, just throwing that damn thing deep and giving his receiver a chance to make a play. The big touchdown that should have won them the Georgia game was when he just threw a deep jump ball up and his receiver made a better play on the ball than the DB. And then they had one versus Mississippi State where, once again, you're throwing it up. It could be intercepted. A safety could run a gazillion miles over with the ball in the air that high. He could come over and make a play. But it's tough because the receiver is always going to have a better judgment of the football than you will. So is Joey Aguilar a better quarterback than Garrett Nussmeier? Probably not. But he's doing a better job of giving his guys a chance to go make plays. He just is. Let's go to Eddie Tonnery. Eddie, you have been on fire in the chat tonight. Brad Davis rush history at Florida, 100th nationally. Mizzou, 17th before he arrived, dropped to 33rd and 58th in his 2 years. And at Arkansas, he was 117th. Okay. So when he was at Arkansas, that was, and it's so late now, 2020. I don't want to get these years mixed up. 2020 and 2021, he had Dan Enos as his play caller. Yeah, it was tough. I think that's right. You know, there were a few instances where he was only at a spot for a year. And then also with the rushing numbers in particular, I don't like using national ranks, especially if it's not a yard per play rank. If it's a total ranking, it's a little different. But all of that aside, Eddie, there is something to this. We've done a few deep dives on our Patreon about the before and after splits with Brad Davis as the offensive line coach. Let's go to Jay Smacks. Yeah, it's how many should have touchdowns should we have had last year or in the game yesterday? The only this a gazillion percent should have been a touchdown pass is the deep ball to Chris. A non-mobile quarterback is now almost a non-starter in the SEC. And it's not my favorite thing. Harrison, I love you. You've had some good comments, but these two couldn't be more opposite. Okay. They really couldn't be more opposite. Edling never threw picks. He actually has the LSU record for picks in a season, 16 touchdowns, 2 picks in his final season. So there you go. Yeah, so 2021 was his first year at LSU. So 2020 would have been his final year or his only year at Arkansas. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the splits to see exactly who was with who. So there you go. All right, we'll answer a few more. If you want to keep it going, you could super chat. I don't mind. This went way longer than I thought it was going to, but you know. Hitman, I want to say thank you in particular. You've always been so sharp, and I've always appreciated you supporting us. Mike Guidry has always been in my corner, but dude, Mike was destroying me in the chat with Blake. I remember that. I was like, man, I thought Mike was in my corner. You got a few mics in here. I see Sibley in here. Me and Sibley gonna hang out at the LSU Texas game next year. I can't freaking wait for that. I'm so excited for LSU Texas next year. I really, really, really am. Just to address a few other things happening in the SEC. I'll have my new SEC power rankings up tomorrow. I did let my LSU bias creep in, and I should have stood fast with Alabama being at number 4 and LSU being number 6. I flipped them, but LSU at 4 and Alabama at number 6. At Alabama, winning, playing in the SEC championship game before the season, and they look good. They look really good. The Arkansas job is open, and would they go after Blake Baker, or would they go after John Summerall? I could see John Summerall being the next coach at Arkansas. I could. It's a tough job. It's a very disorganized mess right now. They have an athletic director situation that's kind of strange. Here's what I always say about coaching searches. Nobody knows anything. If something gets out, it's because somebody wanted that to get out. In terms of this guy's name is up for this job. So the name that you're going to hear nonstop for the Arkansas job is Rhett Lashley. Okay. Now, why do I not think Rhett Lashley, who has Arkansas ties, why do I not think Rhett Lashley is actually going to be the guy? Because everyone is telling you he's the guy. Okay, go back a few years ago when the Brian Kelly, what was not even thought of as the LSU head coach. I'm not saying I was the originator of this rumor, but if you put a timeline together, I released a hot board, and my 2 top candidates in a different tier than everyone else was Lincoln Riley and Lane Kiffin. Those are my 2 top candidates by a wide margin. And then after that, the Lincoln Riley rumors started to heat up. And I said I would pay Lincoln Riley $12 million a year to come be the head coach at LSU. Well, started getting out, Lincoln Riley to LSU. And people thought I was reporting that when it was clearly an opinion piece. I was not reporting that. So with coaching stuff, always be wary of what's out there. Because the only person that it was really helping the Lincoln Riley to LSU rumors were Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly. Crazy rumors. It was so crazy to look back at it. TJ, that's a good question. What are the odds at Weston Davis starts versus USC? I don't know. You could actually make a case that Weston Davis starting versus USC is reasonable if a lot of it's going to come down to how Carius Kern feels about how he played versus Ole Miss. Because Dylan Stewart is a tough matchup. It's tough. I don't care that we're at home. It's tough. Carver says, I think we lose to Bama and Oklahoma. Yeah, I mean, Bama's good. I mean, they're just a really good team. Chad, welcome. Then you got the vintage Marcus Colston jersey. If any of y'all say Chris Olave, you don't know ball. That's a Marcus Colston jersey. Crazy. Crazy. Man, I got some bad news today, y'all. I freaking love New York City. My heart got shattered. I'm cheering for Jackson Dart because Malik Neighbors is like my guy. No, he's not my guy. I met him once. Met him at Fanatics Fest. But Malik is like one of my favorite LSU players ever. And he tears his ACL today. Then wife decides, hey, babe, I'm going to New York City. She tells me she's going to New York City. I love going to New York City. Oh, I wish I could go multiple times every year. It's that great of a city. Okay. There's nothing like that city. And she said, no, it's a girls' trip. What? A girls' trip? Huh? New York City? I can understand a girls' trip to Nashville, but New York City? You got to take a full flight up there? New York? That's not a girls' trip. This is not Sex in the City. You're not Carrie Bradshaw. I'm your Mr. Big, and I live right down here in the South. You do not go to New York City without me. I don't care where she goes, but New York, my city? Y'all didn't know my light skinned brethren, Derek Jeter, we are related. We are third cousins removed. But New York City without me? She just said it out of nowhere. Didn't even ask if she can go. She doesn't ever have to ask. She can go. And she can do whatever she wants. But New York City without me? Really? My city? This is my city. And she's like, yeah, next March, her and her friends are going to go see Lady Gaga. I don't get an invite? I'm your Alejandro. It's ironic. She tells me that. I responded with a poker face. All jokes aside, she can do whatever she wants. Except go to New York without me. Without me. It's crazy. You live in Richmond and I have no interest in New York City? New York's my city, bro. There's nothing like that place. There are 3 cities in America: Vegas, New Orleans, New York. I've never been to Seattle. I heard Seattle's unique. Oh, really? Yeah, you can go catch a fish at the market. What? Catch a raw fish? Kelly will start nuts every game. All right, y'all. That'll do it for me. Once again, big thanks to Zion Imaging. Big thanks to Fortified Gulf Coast. Fortify your roof today. Please, if you're in South Louisiana, protect against severe weather. FortifiedGulf.com. Our friends with Labor Therapy. I tried to do a Labor Therapy jingle. They don't have a jingle because they don't need a jingle. Because Labor Therapy is all about just getting you healthy in the Lafayette region. 5 different locations. Labor Therapy, labortherapy.com. And Fast Draft Fantasy. Okay? It is Power Hour. LSU. Boom. Tonight, we are doing some apple pie. Shout out to all our super chatters. Cajun curveball. AP coming in hot. Change the dang QB. We need a spark. I think I missed this, AP. You know I have a lot of respect for you. You're my guy, man. Your dog has been through a lot. If y'all AP, remind me to tell your dog story again. It is so sad, but it's fine. Eddie, welcome to the channel. Lots of newbies in here tonight. Big thanks once again to Blake Ruffino. I will be on with him Tuesday night, and tomorrow night I will do the defensive film study. We'll do the part 2 of the offense a little bit later. I want to dive a little bit deeper into the all 22 for the next offensive breakdown. And yeah, tomorrow at 6 p.m. you will get a defensive breakdown. Okay. Carver said no. Carver said no. He wants the offensive breakdown. CD. Speaking of CD, I don't think he's playing tonight. Has George Pickens done anything tonight? Please tell me George Pickens went ham. Yes. 5 catches, 80 yards, and a tutty. Let's go, George. And we'll see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m., okay? For a film study. It is Power Hour. LSU. Boom. Tonight, we are doing apple pie.